Give people a few seconds to pile in here. It's hard to believe that the YSL trial is over. Well, almost over. Just so hard to believe that after 2 years that it's going to be done. Today was the 163rd day for the YSL trial. 163 days. Man. 163 days. That's a half a year almost. Well, 180 days is a half a year. So 163 is almost half a year. Man. Viverito. That's a name that I won't soon forget. Will not soon forget Detective Viverito, or Investigator Viverito, she likes to be called. Wild day today. Detective Viverito under cross imploded and burnt to the ground. Max Sharp did the cross. Max did the cross, and Doug, there was an issue with Viverito. Oh, so many issues with her. So many. She was very combative, very disrespectful towards Max. Why? Why? She proved that Max's client did not commit the drinks murder. That was beginning of the implosion. She told where to begin? So much happened today in the YSL trial. It was all over Detective Viverito. Let's start at the beginning, which Max Sharp started his cross yesterday. And under cross yesterday, Viverito tried to say that when a rap artist writes a lyric, one of the lyrics that Shannon Stillwell wrote was something about, I got caught, but I beat a murder rap, and went on and on and on. And he questioned her. He said, wait a minute. Do you have proof that my client beat a murder rap? And it was all downhill from there. It was downhill. Today she burnt to the ground. At one point, they had a break so that they could discuss some issues, because she was proving that Shannon Stillwell did not kill Shamel Drinks because she stated on the stand that the third car was behind and to the left of Shamel Drink's red Versa. And the medical examiner testified that Shamel Drinks, the bullet that killed him, came from behind him. Actually, what she said was that the bullet hit him in the back at the base of the skull, shattering his spinal cord and killing him instantly. That's what the medical examiner said. And then Viverito said on the stand that the third car was behind him. And then Hilton kept saying, but the car is not next to him. The bullets came from right next to him. But that's not what the medical examiner said. That is not what the medical examiner said. The medical examiner stated that the bullet that took his life hit him in the back of the neck at the base of the skull. That means the bullet had to come from behind. And then Viverito got in big trouble, almost. She threatened Kayla Bumpus. Kayla Bumpus is married to a defendant. She's a lawyer and she has a YouTube channel, but she's married to a defendant. And Viverito, during a break, walked up to her unannounced and said, "That is the last time you will call me a hoe," and walked off. To which means that she watched Kayla's stream yesterday. Witnesses are not supposed to watch any trial coverage. None. And Kayla streams the trial and she talks, does commentary. So, I mean, she watched it. And Doug Weinstein brought this up to the judge, told the judge what happened, and the judge did not want to bring Kayla up there and have Kayla talk about it, and wasn't sure that it would be considered a threat. But I consider it a threat because Adam Abati, one of the state's prosecutors, wrote Kayla an email and apologized and said, "That will never happen again. I'm sorry." So that means that it happened and it was a threat. But the case is almost over. She was the last witness. Where to begin? Where to begin? She was a dumpster fire, arguing with Max yesterday, arguing with him today, twice yesterday, under direct yesterday, rather. Judge Whitaker admonished her for commenting beyond what the question was asked. The state would ask a question, She would answer the question and then go on commenting. But it's the last witness now. Doug has said that they're working on directed verdict. They wanted to work on directed verdict before, and rather, Max wanted to work on the directed verdict before he gave the court an answer on whether he was going to put on a case. So they're going to work on directed verdict tomorrow, and then the jury comes back Friday. I think they said Friday. Today is Tuesday, right? Yeah. So some of the other cases that I'm looking at is I've been following the Lake and Riley case, and I'm looking at the Moscow, Idaho murders, and we'll see where it goes. All right, this was just a short update to give, some of my thoughts and views, and we'll see you tomorrow. Anybody that wants to comment can comment. Man, hard to believe after 2 years of trial, YSL is done. Or going to be done, I should say. Shouldn't say they're done. There's not been no verdict yet. Hasn't gone to the jury yet. They're going to work on directed verdict tomorrow. And then motions tomorrow afternoon and Thursday. And then jury comes back on Friday. And Doug said that he's going to rest his case. And the judge, I think the judge is going to give Doug his directed verdict. Here's why I say that. Because they were having a discussion about it this afternoon, and the judge point blank asked Doug if he felt that the state had proved any elements of the crimes against Demonte Kendrick. And Doug said, no, I don't believe so at all. And Hilton started to argue that they had, and the judge looked at her and kind of chuckled and said, you really think so? That tells me that the judge is leaning towards the directed verdict for Kendrick. And after the dumpster fire this afternoon, I have to believe that she would give directed verdict to Shannon Stillwell too. Because this afternoon, after the way Viverito melted down on the stand and basically proved that Shannon Stillwell didn't kill Shamel Drinks, I think that goose is cooked. It's like having the horse out of the barn and then going and shutting the barn door afterwards. Just so much happened today. Much love to my friend Kat at Cat Not Williams. She's showed me how to do a lot of different things. And wow. I've had so much invested in this trial since January. And watching it every day and then commenting on it, it's like it draws you in. You get hooked on it. At least that's the way I feel of it. Anybody else feel that way? How things draw you in and you get hooked on them? It's like you don't want it to end, and then when it ends, you say, well, what am I going to do now? Right? Kind of crazy. Kind of crazy. Viverito. And people call her Burrito because the closed caption when they introduced her, instead of Miss Viverito, it said Mr. Burrito. I think that's funny. But Viverito, she cooked the state's case today. She actually testified that the third car, well, first thing she testified to, and this is beyond crazy, okay, 40 caliber, whether it's a Glock, a Smith & Wesson, a Springfield, has a huge muzzle flash, about the size of a orange. She tried to say that there was no muzzle flash and that you wouldn't be able to see it at night because she's gone shooting at the range at night. Well, the range is lit up at night. The muzzle flash is about that big around, and it sprays gunpowder out the top of the gun every time you pull the trigger. And so her testimony was, or the theory rather, shouldn't say testimony, the theory was that either Shannon or his passenger stuck the gun out the side window and pulled the trigger. Two problems with that. When Shannon's car was next to Schmel's car, Schmel had the foot on the brakes and was pumping the brakes. No muzzle flash. And if the passenger had stuck the gun in front of Shannon, Shannon would be blind because that muzzle flash blinds you for like 10 or 15 seconds. Plus, it would have blown gunshot residue called GSR up on the headliner. They took the entire headliner out of Shannon's rented car and found zero gunshot residue on the entire headliner. And then Viverito said that the third car could not be the shooter because the third car was lined up behind and to the right of Schmel Drinks. The medical examiner testified that the bullet that killed Schmel Drinks hit him in the back of the skull at the base of the neck. That means that the gunshot had to come from behind. You could not shoot from the side and hit the back of the neck at the base of the skull. Means the bullet came from behind. So, and also the video shows that when the third car pulled up behind Shannon and the guy in the Ford Fusion, that Shannon pulled out and turned left in front of Drink's car. No, Shannon turned to the right and sped off, and the white Fusion pulled in front of Drink's car and sped off to the left, leaving the third car there sitting behind Schmel Drinks, where Schmel Drinks' foot went off of the gas pedal, or off of the brake pedal, and you see the car roll forward a little bit and stop. So them are all problems that were presented by Viverito today, and she was just a terrible witness, arguing with Max. The judge had to tell her to quit making extra commentary and just answer the question yes or no. She didn't want to answer yes or no questions. She just would state, she would say no, but, and then go on explaining. And Max had to tell her it's a yes or no question. So, any comments, thoughts on YSL being done? Hey, Zach. So, did you hear my comments on Viverito? Viverito is an investigator. She was the final witness today for the prosecution, their last witness, and she imploded under cross-examination. She insinuated yesterday under cross by Max Shark that if a rap artist writes a lyric, like say they write that I got caught, but I beat a murder rap. Say they wrote something like that and they put it in a song. She says because they wrote that and they sang it, that it actually happened. And Max told her yesterday, so tell me when my client beat a murder rap. She said, well, he's been on bond for 2 years, so. And she started to say that makes him guilty, and the judge stopped her. The judge chastised her, told her to stop making extra commentary. And just because he was on bond does not mean he was found guilty. That people get put on bond and then the charges get dropped and they never get prosecuted. That doesn't mean they're guilty. The judge was pissed yesterday. Then we started today. Today was a whole nother ball of wax. So she kept arguing with Max about things that were in evidence. And at one point, they had to take a break this afternoon. And they had to argue some technical things. And during that break, Viverito walked up to Kayla Bumpus, who's married to one of the witnesses. She's a trial. She's an attorney. She has a YouTube channel, but she's married to one of the defendants. Viverito walks up to her and says, "That's the last time you will call me a hoe," and turned and walked off. Well, Kayla Bumpus, in her live stream yesterday, had called her a hoe. That means that she was watching Kayla's live stream yesterday. That is not allowed. Witnesses are not allowed to watch trial proceedings or any YouTube channels. The judge tells the jurors that every day when they leave. And Doug Weinstein brought this up this afternoon. Yeah, like Fanny watched, right. And told the judge that investigator Viverito threatened Kayla Bumpus, told her what the threat was, had documented that the threat happened because prosecutor Abate for the state wrote Kayla an email apologizing, told her he was very sorry that happened and that it would never happen again. But the judge did not want to call Kayla up, did not want to find out, if she perceived it as a threat or anything like that. Well, it's like Doug said, there are people in jail for stating lesser things than that. You don't walk up to the spouse of a defendant and tell them that's the last time you will do that, which is crazy. It's hard to believe after 2 years this trial is going to be over. I've invested so much time in this trial. It's like you get sucked in, you get drawn in. You look forward to watching the next day. And now it's going to be done. Probably we'll know more on Friday. But tomorrow, they're going to have court tomorrow without the jury. They're going to discuss the directed verdict tomorrow. And Max asked to discuss directed verdict tomorrow, and let him have until Friday to make the decision whether he was going to put on a case, because he said he really needed to get into the directed verdict and see, a few more things. But what do you think, Zach? You think that's crazy that a detective would threaten a defendant's wife like that? Yeah. But I was very happy that Doug brought it to the attention of the judge and gave the judge a chance. The jury is comprised of 6 black women, 2 black men, and the rest is white men and women. And this afternoon, the judge asked Doug Weinstein, do you think that the state has proven your 12 total? She asked the judge, do you think that the state has proven your client guilty of any of the charges? And Doug said, no, I don't think they have proven their case at all against my client. That's why I've been working on the directed verdict motion. And Hilton started to argue, oh, yes, we have, and this and that and the other. And the judge just looked at her and said, oh, really? You think you have? And started laughing at her. And then when during Max's cross-examination, this is the crazy thing. Okay, the state has been saying ad nauseum that Shannon's car pulled up next to Schmel Drink's car, and either Shannon or his passenger stuck their hand out the window and fired the shots into Schmel Drink's. Said you cannot see a muzzle flash at night. Well, that's crazy. A muzzle flash out of a 40 caliber is about that big around, and it blows gunshot residue called GSR up on your hands, up in the air. If you had it inside of the car, the headliner above your head would be covered in gunshot residue, and they found no gunshot residue anywhere in Shannon Stillwell's rented car. And they removed the headliner and had it sent off for testing and found 0 particles of gunshot residue. So then they showed the videotape that shows a third car pulling up, like Drink's car was here. The third car pulled up like this, stopped right here like this, behind. And then you see flashes out the window of that car. By this time, Shannon's car and the other car, the white Ford Fusion, had sped off at like 90 miles an hour. So, and Max brought out, he said, but the shot that killed Schmel Drinks could not have come from the side because the medical examiner testified that the shot that killed Schmel Drinks hit him in the back of the head at the base of the skull, killing him instantly. Right. It would be not only on, see, they're trying to say that he was shot out the driver's window. There would be gunshot residue on the headliner of the car, all above the driver's door. There would be gunshot residue on Shannon's hands, which there wasn't any. Oh, man. leg is itching. And they never bothered to get a plate number off of the third car because it didn't fit the narrative of their case. And if they have Schmel Drinks' car, hey, JR, wild case day today at YSL. Inspector Viverito melted down on the stand under cross by Max Shark. No. See, that's what you're not getting, Zach. They're trying to say that the rental car that pulled up alongside of, we'll say this is the rental car, and this is Schmel Drinks' car. They're saying that the rental car pulled up like this, rolled down the window, and shot Schmel Drinks and killed him. But that's not what happened. The videotape shows that Shannon's car pulls up like this, stops for a few seconds with a white Fusion pull up behind him. Then a third car comes speeding up, a Dodge Challenger, speeding up behind him. They take off. They take off around the corner at 90 miles an hour. Sorry. Oh, JR made him miss dinner. Well, anyhow, but the medical examiner said that Schmel Drinks died from a gunshot to the back of the head at the base of the skull. That means that the gunshot had to come from behind. You can't pull up next to somebody like this, and shoot out the window this way and hit them in the base of the skull. Has to come from this way, from behind. And the video evidence shows that. But what is wild is that they had a break to discuss the video evidence and stuff. And Detective Viverito went out and threatened Kayla Bumpus, but he would have to turn his head completely around like this because they're saying that the car that was pulled up in front and next to him shot this way and hit him in the base of the skull. But Detective Viverito went out and saw Kayla Bumpus in the hall, which Kayla Bumpus is married to one of the defendants. She's a lawyer and has a YouTube channel, and walked up to her and said, "That's the last time you will call me a hoe," and turned and walked off, which Doug Weinstein brought up and says that means that she watched the trial coverage yesterday on Kayla's channel, because Kayla, on her live stream yesterday, said something to the effect of, "Listen to that hoe. Listen how she's talking." And so Doug Weinstein brought up to the judge that the witness threatened Kayla Bumpus and that Kayla Bumpus is married to a defendant, and the judge did not want to call Kayla up and ask her if she perceived it as a threat or anything like that, because this witness is the last witness, and they were like almost done with cross-examination. The judge said, now, if you want to ask this witness if she said that, why she's, or, if she watched trial coverage, you may ask her that. But he didn't ask her. He asked about the Richard Millay, it's called the Richard Millay watch that's missing. The watch is worth $500,000. And the video shows that Detective Viverito had the in her hand, and she says she put it back on the shelf, but the video does not show that. The video does not show that she put the watch back on the shelf. It shows her holding the watch, and then the feed for the video stops. And she says, no, I didn't take it. I didn't know. And then the crazy way that they inventoried Jeffrey Williams' jewelry. They opened a inventory bag, and they just took all the jewelry off the shelf and just threw it in the inventory bag. And Detective Viverito is on video saying, wow, that's worth a lot of money there. So the inference is that she knows what happened to the watch, and she's not saying. Which there's a lot of stuff like that goes on, isn't there, JR? A lot of shady stuff goes on with cops and detectives and investigators. I have cops in my family. There are good cops and there are bad cops. I won't state names, but my cousin that I'm very close to, well, I will state his name. His name is Jeff. He's a retired desk sergeant for the 911 operator system in Will County, Illinois. He's a good cop. One of my other cousins, not a good cop. He was a detective, and he went around busting we call them whorehouses, but not really houses. There would be a bar, dimly lit bar with apartments above it, where the guy that owned the bar owned the apartments, and the girls would turn the tricks and go upstairs, and it was a whole seedy mess. My other cousin, was responsible for busting that one. Very proud of taking pictures with these hookers. Go figure, huh? And he is one of those that would tell you, if I pull you over and today in the YSL trial, Benny, today was a wild ride. Today was a wild ride. And I think, okay, I think that Whitaker is going to give Doug his directed verdict. And the reason why I say that is because when they were at break, Viverito was a hot mess. She imploded and burnt to the ground. That's what I thought. And the fact that she threatened Kayla, and then the judge didn't want to call Kayla up to see if it was a threat. Well, if a detective walks up to you and says, that's the last time you will do ... you're to take it as a threat. No, I was watching on Cat Not Williams live stream. I live in Montana, but I watch different court cases. Hey, Kendall, welcome. Yeah, Viverito was wild today. I was just telling Benny, Kendall, that I think that Doug is going to get his directed verdict. And here's why. Because when they had the jury was out and Viverito was out, the judge asked Doug, do you, hey, Cheryl, do you think that the state has proved your client's case at all? And Doug said, no, I do not believe they have proven anything. And Hilton got up and started arguing with Doug, and Judge just looked at her and said, oh, really? You think you've proven your case? And started laughing at her. Now, if I was an attorney and the judge started laughing at me, I'd be thinking in my head, oh, I'm screwed. Yeah, great case today from Doug. If I was on the jury, I would be voting not guilty because the state showed today their bias. They kept saying, now this is why, this is important. The medical examiner said that Shamel Drinks died from a bullet wound to the back of the head at the base of the skull, way up here. I can't turn my neck, but I would show you. And Hilton kept trying to say they're working on the instructions. They've been working on them for a couple of days. Yeah. Hilton kept trying to say I agree. State really messed up today. And the reason why I say that is because the judge was talking to Doug when they were at break and asked him, do you think that the state has proven any aspects of their case against your client? And Doug said, no, I really don't think they've proven anything. And Hilton started arguing with him. And the judge interrupted her and said, oh, you really think that? And started laughing at her. If a judge laughed at me like that, I'd be wanting to go find some place to hide. Right? But the reason why it's important in the Shamel Drinks murder is the medical examiner said that Shamel died from a gunshot wound to the back of the head at the base of the skull, back here. And then on the videotape, it shows Shannon pull up alongside and in front, kind of Chamel Drinks, and the white Ford Fusion pulls up behind him. When the Challenger comes racing up there, them two skedaddle. And the data for the ankle monitor, the Shannon showed that his car went from 18 miles an hour at the stop sign to 90. Yeah, that was the same Challenger that was circling the BP. And I was laughing at Viverito and Hilton. Viverito saying, well, the shots could not have come from the third car because it was behind Mr. Drink's car. Yeah, it was a Charger. Sorry. I was thinking Charger and said Challenger. And right there, I thought, that proves it. That proves that Shannon didn't do it. Because Shannon's car was in alongside of and almost to the front. Like, here's Chamel Drink's car. Shannon's car pulls up like this. That means he would be shot in the front. The shots would be going this way. Where the Charger pulled up like this. It's another case where they got the wrong people. I was talking about this earlier on the live that I did right after court. No, the ear counts as dead, but the medical examiner specifically said that he got shot in the back of the neck at the base of the skull. She specifically said the back of the neck at the base of the skull, that shot exploded the spinal cord and killed him instantly, and that it would be impossible for him to move at all after that shot. So that totally disproves the case theory with the video, with using the video, because the video shows that while Shannon's car is next to him, Chamel Drinks is pumping the brakes, while the Ford Fusion pulls up next to him, he's pumping the brakes. When the Charger pulls up, you see gun flash, you see flashes, and then you see the brakes go off. And then the car rolls forward about a foot. And then the Charger slowly turns and drives off. And so I think that proves that Shannon didn't do it. You know, while Shannon may have done other things in the past, that particular time he didn't do it, because they took out the entire headliner of the car that he rented. the state made a big deal about sending the headliner off to be tested. They had the person who tested it come and testify, and he testified that they found no gunshot residue anywhere on the headliner. None. But Hilton kept circling around the wagon, coming back trying to say that the passenger could have stuck the gun to the window, which meant it would be in front of Shannon's face, and that the passenger could have shot out the window. That would have meant not only would there be gunshot residue, Shannon would not be able to speed off because he'd be blind. Because the gunshot residue on a 40 caliber is about that big around. About as big around, a little bit bigger around than a softball. So I think that, hey, Americanana, welcome. We're talking about the YSL trial and how it imploded this afternoon. I mean, they had Detective Viverito, which we in the chat have called her Detective Burrito, because the closed caption when they introduced her yesterday said Mr. Burrito instead of Miss Viverito. But I digress. No, if you put the gun inside a baggie, the heat from the implosion would melt the baggie around your hand, and you'd have third-degree burns on your hand. Because a shot from a bullet is a controlled explosion. Now, if you wanted to control the noise, you'd use what's called a silencer. And some people have used a 2-liter Coke bottle, but that was not done here, because when the third car pulled up, you could see flashes of gunshot residue out the window. By this time, Shannon's car and the white Ford Fusion have sped off at 90 miles an hour. And Detective Viverito said it's impossible for the third car to have fired the fatal shots because the third car was behind and to the right of Mr. Drink's Versa. Well, the medical examiner, this is the drug trial in Fulton. Today, the state had their last witness, and she imploded on the stand. She imploded on the stand. They had a break. During the break, she went out and threatened the defendant's wife. Kayla Bumpus is married to one of the defendants. She's a lawyer with a YouTube channel. I really like Kayla. And Detective Viverito walked up to her. She was talking to somebody else, looked her square in the face and said, "That's the last time you will call me a hoe," and turned and walked off. Which means that she was watching Kayla's live stream yesterday. It mean, she was watching Kayla's live stream yesterday. And Doug, to his credit, brought it out. And I think that if the judge would have let him finish his thoughts, I think the judge would have found that it was a threat. It was a threat because she walked up. Anytime an investigator walks up to you and says, that is the last time you will do ... fill in the blanks, you would take it as a threat, wouldn't you? If an investigator walked up to you and said, that's the last time you will do whatever. So, and it was a threat because Abate, Doug has a copy of the email from Abate writing Kayla and apologizing for it, saying, that's the last time that will ever happen. I'm sorry. I agree, Kendall. Because if the judge had let him question her on that, it would have been a mistrial because Viverito would have come apart at the seams. Also, because a witness is not supposed to watch the trial. Kayla Bumpus live streams the trial. And while Viverito was testifying yesterday and mouthing off at Doug, Kayla simply said, listen to that hoe talk, or something to that effect. And that's, it's uncalled for. I found this out this morning that I think it was yesterday that another case that Viverito was lead detective on was overturned on appeal because of her shoddy detective work. I think that came down yesterday. Either it came down yesterday or Friday, but it was recent. And I tried to find out from a lawyer if the defense team could use that against her if they needed to, but they didn't need to because she just was argumentative and vindictive, would, a yes or no question, she would comment on and on and on. She would say no, but, and then give her reason why she didn't think it was. The judge admonished her several times, told her to listen to the question and only answer the question if it's a yes or no question. Say yes or no, quit commenting. And then after that kerfuffle about Kayla, the state rested. Yep, got to eat. People got to eat. But after 2 years, the trial is finally over. This trial should have been over a year and a half ago. I blame Glanville for the way the trial is so screwed up. Yeah, YouTube interferes with eating. That's good, Zach. But I think that I know that, I think, I shouldn't say I know, I think that Doug is going to get his directed verdict because when the judge asked Doug if he thought that the state had proved any aspects of the crimes against his defendant, he said, "No, I don't think so, not at all." And then Hilton stood up and started arguing with him, saying, "We prove this, we prove that, da 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 da." And that the judge interrupted her and said, "Oh, you really think that?" And started laughing at her. Good luck, Cheryl. Be safe going to work, my friend. And I think the judge knows that it will get reversed because she kept asking Floyd, I guess, this afternoon about reversible error. Yeah, poor Monktunk. But I think his appeal attorney could turn that around because Kat covered this afternoon that she posted it rather on X, that there's two sledges. There's an Anthony sledge and an Antonio sledge. The what they read off of in court to violate Monktunk's, yeah. I missed most of her discussion with Floyd, John Floyd, because I have a I had neck surgery a month ago, and I have a visiting physical therapist that comes. And right when Floyd was talking to the judge, I had to go and do my physical therapy. But when right before he ran up there and started talking to her, she said, "I do not want this case to come back on reversible error and come back on me." And she was giving the state what for today. She was done with their nonsense. Yeah, I think today is the last day too. But I saw that he was trying to raise money for a different attorney. Yeah, the judge was getting her jabs in with the state today. She got in a lot of them today, and actually yelled at Hilton. No, it wasn't Hilton. She yelled at Viverito yesterday. Yeah, that attorney Wright is a travesty. I looked up attorney Wright's bio on ABBO. That's a site where people can go and leave their comments about their lawyer. Yeah, I thought yesterday that the judge was going to throw Viverito off the stand. because she said in open court that if a rap artist sings about something in the lyrics, that they believe it in their head, that means it's true. And actually said that yesterday that by Shannon singing about getting caught for a murder case and beating the rap, that because he sang that in a song, that he's beaten a murder rap before. I thought Max was going to lose his head. I thought Max was going to explode his head. Yeah, that ESPN thing. Yeah. Yeah. Paid for it. Paid for it big time. Paid for it big time. Got yelled at by the judge. Yeah, I'd never seen Max that irritated before. I followed this case since January. That's the first time I ever seen Max go off the Richter scale like that. I mean, he does a good job on cross and stuff, keeps things focused, keeps things measured, but that was woo. And I said yesterday, after that happened, I said, you wait. Max is going to be like a caged lion ready to attack. Yeah, Benny. Max cooked her. I said, he grilled her like a steak. And then somebody on Kat's channel said, on a hibachi with no oil. I think it was Kat that said that. So I changed mine up and I said, so he grilled her like a steak on a hibachi with no oil. Much love to Kat. She's awesome. Yeah. Just crazy. All the problems that have happened in this trial. See, I started talking about before y'all came on, Benny and Kendall, that there's reversible error in multiple places in this trial. And the biggest place, well, the two biggest places is the ex parte meeting and then Kenneth Copeland testifying how he was treated in the jail over that weekend. Now, if they're found guilty on anything, it will take many years for this to go to the appeal, but it will come back on appeal. It will come back on appeal because there's reversible error. The ex parte meeting is reversible error. Kenneth Copeland stating how he was treated in the jail, that he was held for a weekend with given no food, no water for a whole weekend. Would not give him phone access to the phone so for some, money. That's reversible error. Yeah, Miss Bennett. Inspector Dennis. Inspector Dennis getting, yeah. And then the conditions at the jail. Okay. There's a DOJ report giving the disgusting conditions at the jail. And Kenneth Copeland testified, it's on the record, that the cell they held him in had feces on the wall, the toilet didn't work, the water was overflowing, it stunk real bad, he had to hold his nose the entire time. Then they transferred him to another jail, and he said it was a little bit better, but yeah, I really wish him well too. You know, I wish all of these defendants well. We have to remember that next, after these 6 defendants, there's 12 more defendants waiting trial. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. And many of those defendants have appellate issues because they've been held with no bail and not gone to trial for 2.5 years in Wright Street. The DOJ report said that the correction officers don't have control of the jail, that there's big holes in the wall, that yeah, Fannie got reelected. She's going to bring them to trial. They won't get the same judge, they'll get a different judge. You know, and the sad and disturbing thing is that Fannie Willis uses putting them in jail to get them to take a plea. And some of the atrocious pleas that they have, and the evil, that's a good word, evil way that they present the plea, and then they negotiate with the lawyer. And this is what happened to Motung. And I saw this during trial, and then during his hearing. Wright got her to take item number 8 off of the plea deal. He said the night before the plea hearing, number 8 was not on there. Then when they went to sign the plea deal the next day, number 8 had been put back in, and he said he doesn't know how that got in there because that had been removed. To me, that's a grounds for appeal. And Love, I'm glad she's no longer on the case. See, Rachel Kaufman, I really like Rachel Kaufman. But it's not in, Zach, it's not in the control of the defense attorneys. It's the prosecutors. The prosecutors are fighting for no bail and putting them in. Hey, yeah, I was on JR's Duke's live stream, And my friend Zach and American Nana asked me to come back live and talk about the case. And so I've been here for almost an hour and a half. But I was telling them that I think that Doug is going to get his directed verdict because of the way that the judge asked him if he thought that the state had proved any aspects of their case against him. And he said, no, I don't think they have proven it. And Hilton got up and started arguing with him, and Whitaker cut her off and said, oh, you really think that? And laughed at her. Yes, defense attorneys have duties to perform. Their duty is to defend their client as best they can. Yep, Kat is my good friend. I'm going to hit you up on X, Kat. I need to talk to you on the phone because I have some questions about how to do some things within StreamYard. Or if you do, you want me to send you an email? Yeah. It's hard to believe after 2 years that this case is going to be over in a few days. You know, I've been following this since January, and I've been glued to it since January. And it's like, wow, it's really coming to an end after all this time. So, Kat, do you want me to send you an email? I'll send you an email. I'll title it StreamYard. Because I have some questions on how to do some things within StreamYard. And I can't seem to get the right responses out of StreamYard. StreamYard is good. But I don't know if she's eating. But it's been a ride. Hasn't it been a wild ride? The ups and downs of this case. Kat, I know I'm going to do the Brian Koberger thing, the Moscow, Idaho case. And I need to know how to, like, how you share streams. I need to know how to do that. Okay, Benny. Thank you for tuning in, Benny. We'll see you again. I always answer questions. I enjoy talking to people in the chat and answering their questions. I give my rants, but then I go back and make sure I answer people's questions. Talk to you later, Benny. This trial has taken way too long. Yes, I'm following the Lake and Riley case. Look back on my channel. I did a live stream on the Lake and Riley case, I believe on Saturday. Good night, JR. Thank you, American Nana, for tuning in. But I did a live stream on it Saturday. I will probably do an update tomorrow, but I don't know what time yet because they're having a non-jury day tomorrow. Good night, JR. Thank you for tuning in. They're having a non-jury day tomorrow where they're going to talk about the directed verdict and that kind of stuff. And they're going to work on jury instructions tomorrow and Thursday, and then the jury comes back on Friday. It's been a wild ride. And I'm going to cover the Moscow, Idaho. I will have to look that up. Maddie Soto case. I will have to look that up, American Nana. I'm going to follow the Moscow, Idaho. I want to be able to live stream it. And I'll talk to Kat about how to share a live stream. Because what StreamYard has told me is hit the present button, but there isn't a present button on my screen. There's a plus sign, there's a pencil, which would be like an edit. There's a bunch of different screen settings. Like I would probably have to switch it to either that one, which says news layout, or that one, which says screen layout. Okay. Maddie Soto, I'll have to remember that. But I'll give you an update on the Moscow, Idaho case while we're sitting here just talking. I can't stand Brian Koberger's attorney. I usually lean more towards the defense because I want them to get a fair trial. But this girl's just a bitch. Pardon my French. She complained and complained and complained to get change of venue. She got change of venue. Then she complained to get a new judge. She got a new judge. Yesterday, she filed 13 motions to dismiss all the evidence against Koberger. It's like, no, that ain't going to happen. And the judge warned them when he took over last month about filing extra motions. He told them, do not file specious motions. I have to watch about the Blake and Riley case. I'll watch it tonight after Flesh of the Gods here in a few minutes. That's another channel that I go to. It's spelled Flesh of the Godz. Yeah, but see, Zach, the judge warned them last month, said, do not file specious and extraneous motions, which That's what she's noted for. She's noted for filing tons and tons of motions. And so the judge warned them that if they did that, he would not look kindly on it. Said he would not look kindly on them filing specious motions, which means tons of motions. And he said he would not. He's evidently watched some of the YSL trial because he said he would not tolerate either side complaining or about the other side. He said, "You're both adults and you should just do your job." I thought that was pretty something else, you know. All right. I'm going to get off of here. We've been here over an hour and a half. I know it was different than my usual one because we kind of rambled off and on, but we'll get it together. We'll see back again tomorrow. Take care, everybody.